find it really concerning sometimes how many anime series have this one character that objectively is an absolute piece of garbage as a human being, and yet somehow ends up as one of my favorite characters. Can anyone relate? That's exactly how I felt the moment when Toji entered Dagon's domain through the opening everyone had just hoped to escape from. Well, let me also tell you the moment that my opinion of Toji Fushiguro was completely flipped on its head. In front of you is the destroyed city of Shibuya, the air thick with death, fear, and chaos. Sukuna's presence is piercing the air, and yet here in this small side alley, somewhere on the battlefield, cramped between two buildings, a father and son stand in front of each other without even knowing who the other is. Megumi, not remembering the father that abandoned him as a child, now fully focused on getting away from the monster that just easily took out one of the special grades without so much as an inch of cursed energy. On the other hand, Toji, a mindless beast on a killing spree who, despite all the powerful people on the battlefield, has chosen Megumi as his strongest opponent. Having just barely missed Megumi's heart, he prepares for another deadly jab. But suddenly, a memory pierces his mind. A memory of how he sold his only son to the family he hated so much. And in the next moment, despite the curse technique that's controlling him, he takes control again and ends his own life a second time, with a smile on his face. And I had tears in my eyes. Tears because of the emotions, but also tears of joy for how criminally well written this man is. At this point, I had finally understood who Toji Fushiguro truly is as a character.
Megumi-kun wa sa, kimi no otousan ga zenin-ken ni taishite totte oita 𝚘𝚑𝚐𝚗カードだったんだよ.
Now for me, Toji is and always has been a very strong contender in the categories shittiest shonen fathers and characters that are already dead but somehow feel more exciting than some of those that are still alive. The core philosophy that Akutami gives Toji is basically not giving a fuck. We're being told that Toji doesn't care about anything or anyone. He doesn't care about his family, going his own way and doing his own thing. He goes through weapons at an alarming rate, no matter if it's a cheap gun or a priceless cursed weapon. When you think about it, whenever you see Toji, you never see him using the same tool twice, just switching to a new one whenever he needs to. He doesn't care about his son and even about his own life, readily prepared to throw it away just to make a point. When I first read the Hidden Inventory arc, not in my wildest dreams did I expect that this sketchy looking guy that is supposed to be Megumi's dad, would be one of the most influential, powerful, and deep characters of the story. It didn't take long, however, for Toji to get my full attention when he's revealed as the mastermind behind the attack on Riko, a girl meant to fuse with the immortal sorcerer Tengen so he could remain human and not turn into whatever he's now. Curse, I guess. Fully aware that Riko is with Gojo and Geto, the two most powerful sorcerers in the country right now, who are in charge of protecting the girl until the ritual, he cleverly keeps throwing diversions at them from behind the scenes. He patiently waits until Gojo is so tired from constantly being on guard with his 6 ice technique so he can launch a surprise attack on all of them. And even though Gojo was of course already an absolute favorite of mine at this point, Toji's fighting style and his underdog status made it really hard not to be impressed by him, as he manages to take out all 3 of his targets, apparently even killing Gojo. And despite of how much of a dick he was, abandoning his son to drink, gamble, and fight, the only thing I thought was that this guy is purely badass. At first glance, the fight between Gojo and Toji may seem like that of 2 powerful maniacs going at it, but it's actually based on Chinese mythology. The godly Buddha versus the chaotic monkey king. Gojo, who literally quotes the Buddha himself after surviving his stabbing, has reached some sort of enlightenment, now fully aware of the true nature of cursed energy, and basically from this moment onward is pretty much unstoppable. He sees everything and is one with the world, able to manipulate space itself. His domain expansion literally forces the universe's truth onto you once you're caught in it. And as he puts it himself, coming back from certain death, he's practically reborn in the infinite cycle of reincarnation. Toji meanwhile represents Sun Wukong, who rebelled against the gods. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. Toji literally likes to call himself a monkey for not having cursed energy, basically making fun of Geto before he even goes mad. And just like the Monkey King is exiled from the heavenly order of the 4 clans in this case. Later on, we see him fully mastering Playful Cloud, just as Sun Wukong was known for using a staff and flying on top of a cloud. Ultimately, just like in the Journey to the West, the Buddha himself has to put an end to this rebellion, just like Gojo is the only one who could have ever stopped Toji. And when Gojo launched his new attack, Hollow Purple, and I turned the page, my entire perspective on Toji completely changed. 2 things happened when a surprisingly calm Toji is standing there with a big hole in the side of his body. Firstly, I finally understood that I had been a bit of an idiot seeing Toji as some sort of underdog fighting his way to the top. That's not what makes him so relatable. In fact, just like Gojo, Toji had been born with one of the strongest powers in the Jujutsu world right from the start. Heavenly Restriction, that has turned out to be an inherited technique of the Zenin family, is only able to reach its true potential when the amount of cursed energy in the user is exactly 0. It made Toji an absolute superhuman monster that could not be detected, but easily overwhelm cursed techniques using his ridiculous instincts and physical strength alone. In other words, Gojo had to overcome his own limits to take this man down.
全員家が邪魔してるくさいんだよね。素直に手のひら返して認めてやりゃいいのにさ。
Toji had always been one of the strongest. It's just that the Zenin clan defines strength in terms of cursed energy. So they were quite literally blind to his true strength, just like I was, even though Maki foreshadowed it so well. And even more frustratingly, how Toji then foreshadowed it for Maki later on. And you know what? Maki losing her remaining cursed energy and essentially becoming the Kill Bill version of Toji has been one of the wildest rides in the story so far, and that is really saying something. The second thing that happened when Toji died was that I realized how his philosophy of not giving a damn about anything was nothing but one big facade. When he asked Gojo, missing half of his body, to help his son, the last thing that he thought about before dying, Akutami set the stage to make this character way deeper than I had anticipated. Until now, Toji was cool, but now I was really curious. If Toji had loved Megumi after all, how the hell did he end up like this?
俺は全員家とやらに売られたらしい。ああ、ムカつくよ。あんたのそのデリカシーのなさが特に。
Toji is pretty much the personification of the entire story of Jujutsu Kaisen, uniting the themes of love, strength, and the dysfunctional coldness of the Jujutsu society. He is the result of the current toxic system. Even though Akutami never explicitly mentions anything about his time with the Zenin clan, given his current state and what we already know from Maki's experience, it doesn't take much imagination to figure that his childhood must probably have terribly sucked.
やはり双子は協調か。帰ってよかったかもしれんな。
Toji and later on Maki are basically the badass but tragic outcome of a society that denies love and attention to anyone deemed to be weak in their eyes. Whenever I see Toji or Maki act the way they do, you just know that the current system has to be abolished. Which is ironic because the next arc will be about protecting said system. And yet I strongly believe that it'll be the job of Itadori, Fushiguro, and Kugisaki to build a world in which someone like Maki can laugh, and in which someone like Toji never has to become the emotionally crippled monster that he is. I mean, look at him. Completely deprived of any affection, Toji, even more so than Maki, is completely unable to express love and care, even though both their needs as a character is clearly having a real loving family. Instead, they try to fill the hole in their heart by becoming strong. They basically want to be acknowledged by the clan that treated them as outcasts. Toji, who's not able to deal with the death of Megumi's mother, then decides to warp his usual self, as he calls it, his loving self, and abandons his kid, thinking it will be safer with the clan that rejected him. I'm sure that plan would have worked out fantastically. Now, in this scene here, we're made to believe that Toji doesn't even remember his own kid's name. And yet, Megumi, the name he gave his son, literally means blessing. And so, even though I didn't know it yet, this right here is a man that struggles to drown his love and worries for his child because he just doesn't know how to deal with it. And realizing that really broke my heart. And it gets even worse when you see that Megumi has pretty much inherited this trait. Before starting to change and grow together with Yuji and Nobara, Megumi is constantly, and I mean constantly, suppressing his emotions as well as his powers, believing himself to be weak before then pulling a sudden domain expansion or then summoning Mahoraga. Despite his father's love for him, he had to grow out with no idea of what a family was, except for a stepsister, with the same sense of isolation and distance from his family that Toji did, fully lacking the unconditional love that a child needs from his parents in order to grow up, because Toji was never even around for Megumi in the first place. And so just by default, I guess, he assumes that his father either didn't love him or just straight out forgot about him.
それぞれの片親がくっついて蒸発した。
And I think that's why knowing that Toji actually had cared for him all along makes his character so bittersweet. It's only in Toji's very last moment, his second chance at dying a good death, as Itadori would put it, that he accepts that it was Megumi who was his true purpose in life all along. Not revenge or money or power, just family and someone to care for. The exact moral message of Jujutsu Kaisen. The only thing Toji is regretting before he dies from Gojo's attack all those years ago is not that he wasn't strong enough. He doesn't even regret becoming a criminal or rebelling against the also-mighty Jujutsu world. No, what he regrets is that he threw away his family in the process. And now he has the chance to finally see that his son grew up just fine. Well, more or less, I guess. And that Megumi is starting to walk his own path. And so it hit me that Toji pretty much dies the very way that Yuji wants to, with a smile on his face and surrounded by the people he loves. Which makes Toji someone who's not only incredibly powerful and badass for wreaking havoc in the Jujutsu world, but who very deep down was a loving father who never had the chance to express it until he got one last chance. And that's why human piece of garbage like Toji is one of my favorite characters. You should watch Megumi's video here next.